Hey everybody, Jason Burmis here, and I wasn't going to do a video when I saw Howard Stern, one of my heroes. When I say hero, I try not to have quote unquote heroes. I always tell people be your own hero. But if there was somebody that had a lot of influence over my life when I didn't even recognize how much influence they had over me growing up, I'd have to say it was Howard Stern. And I know that's probably going to surprise a lot of people, but it really shouldn't, because I'm a product of the 80s and 90s. And that was really when Howard Stern came up. I'm a New Yorker. I remember as more and more stations began to pick up Howard Stern, and you actually did hear some of his stuff in the morning as a kid. And really the biggest thing out there that grabbed a lot of people's attention was that the E! Entertainment Network was now taking a radio broadcast and they were putting it on television. And that was revolutionary at the time. All right. And that even predates what Alex Jones did, going from basically access television, something Stern exploited, by the way, and exploited well, okay, and took from access television into the media studio you now see. And obviously Stern did it as well, with a very different type of program, but one that was based in free speech and having the right to do and say what you wanted and push the envelope. And these are things that Stern no longer represents. And obviously, if you see the thumbnail here, you can see that Neil Young went not only on the broadcast, but in studio. I think it's probably 5, 6, maybe even 7 years back. Okay. And here we have Neil Young, somebody I also remember as a kid, bridging some of that gap between myself and my stepfather generationally when it came to music. Something he enjoyed, something I enjoyed. You know, we both got a kick out of watching, for instance, Pearl Jam get on stage and do Keep on Rockin' in the Free World, totally unironic at this point, right, with Neil Young. And that's why when Howard Stern goes out there and talks about locking people up and shutting them out on society and allowing them to basically rot and die because they don't do what he thinks is the right thing to do, and it goes well beyond just a challenge to our constitutional republic, our system of checks and balances, a government for and by the people, into the type of authoritarianism you can't imagine. Okay? And when I talk about how influential Howard Stern was to me, this is one of the very first books. I picked this up. It's green screening through because all this is green. One of the very first books I read, this is not the original version. I actually read a different version as a kid. That one and Miss America. That was for leisure. It's certainly probably the first adult-orientated book, and it was hilarious. I mean, this was a guy that got me not only into reading, but I never thought that talk radio was going to be my future. You know, when I was reading Private Parts, or when I went and saw the movie in 1994 in a theater, I still didn't think I had any future in broadcasting whatsoever. It was not even in my head. But at the same time, I think that guy is a powerful interviewer. I think he has done amazing work, and I would never call for his censorship. And I would never call for Neil Young's censorship. And that's why, at times, you have to separate the artist from the art. And Stern especially, it's really difficult because he's always kind of based his show on himself. All right, period. And exploiting that, loser from nowhere into, king of the world in his own universe, conquering all. And that's what makes this all the more disappointing. So we're going to read some of the things that Neil Young said to try to get Joe Rogan banned. We have to be careful here. We're going to show you a couple of news stories, okay, that kind of correlate with this. We got to be very careful. We're on YouTube right now, okay? And we both know that YouTube is tough. Let's see. We got a Tipsky and Hutch, though, over at Rockfin. Hey, Jay, love your stuff, man. Great to catch you live. Thank you so much for that support. And the thing is, if you're looking at this on Rockfin, I want to thank you because you are part of the Burmist Brigade that does not stand for censorship, that allows me to say whatever I want, whenever I want. Hey-o, imagine that. Imagine that. And YouTube, we're glad to be here because we're trying to bring people in. We're trying to expose people that watch cat videos to Shade the Motion Picture, and Invisible Empire, and New World Order Defined, and Fabled Enemies, and Loose Change Final Cut. We're doing that. You got to help me with it. So make sure to share all the info. Tell people about the documentaries, which are all free and everybody can watch for free, okay? But make that free Rockfin account and follow me there as well. And remember, Shade is pinned right there. My hour plus with James Corbett is uncensored right there for free. Yesterday's Mixed Martial Mindset, uncensored, over an hour, right there for free. So please come on in. And we're trying to bring in a live chat video feature over at Rockfin, which we kind of displayed on both platforms. So we're also on Getter. Follow me there. I want to start here, okay? Because I think that this is actually really important. Okay, I made this the other day. Imagine living in a country where this is the end of Fight Club, okay? And let's zoom in so you can read it. Through the clue provided by Tyler Durden, the main character, okay, the police rapidly figured out the whole plan and arrested all criminals, successfully preventing the explosives from going off. I don't even want to say that word, right? I can't believe I'm trying to censor that from here, but yes, preventing the explosives from going off. After the trial, Tyler was sent to a lunatic asylum, receiving psychological treatment. He was discharged from the hospital in 2012. And of course, Fight Club predates 9/11, right? So this is the end of Fight Club, instead of them blowing up the entire thing. Okay, instead of that. And over 1 billion plus people live in that reality. It's a reality that's actually something that's occurring. It's gone from, okay, I want to make this very clear to Howard and Neil. What you think is medical misinformation, what you think is right politically, what you think we should be doing militarily, goes well beyond that to entertainment, to quote-unquote art. Okay? Think about that. That's a big, big deal. All right? So let's read some of this. And of course, Daryl Hannah has come to Neil Young's side. That's, I believe they got married. I think they did. Okay? Neil Young posted a since-deleted letter to his management team and record label. Okay? So he did this kind of as a publicity stunt. Okay? Because he put it out to everybody, but then he deleted it. And I think he may have deleted this because he doesn't even own half of his music. Now, it's really rare that any artist owns their masters or their overall rights, okay, to any type of music. Neil Young actually did, and then I believe he sold half of the rights to another company. So half of the music's not his. Now, I want you to think about the irony of this. As Howard Stern got more and more popular, okay, and he became so big that almost every single big market had to pick him up somewhere, right? And you were hopeful to get him in that market because it was huge amounts of viewership. People hated him. People protest him. People, wanted to boycott him. Did any musical artist say, take my music off that radio station? Would any musical artist, think about this, from the time he's been at Sirius, which is literally 20 plus years at this point, right? We're talking about almost close to 20, somewhere in that marker that he left terrestrial radio. He went to XM, Sirius XM together. All right. XM was the competition. They absorbed it. All because of Howard Stern, by the way. That's how big he is. Has any musical artist said, we don't want our music on satellite? And yet Neil Young pulls this publicity stunt out of sheer ignorance. I want to believe that Neil doesn't know what he's talking about at this point, that he's just part of that mass formation hypnosis that Eric Clapton has broken free from and admittedly was a part of. And from his own account, I am doing this because Spotify is spreading fake information about you know what, potentially causing death to those who believe the disinformation being spread by them. Potentially causing death. Really? I wonder if you could potentially cause death if somebody who's 31 does not get their heart transplant because they've been removed from the top of the list because they don't think like Neil. I wonder. Look at this poor... man, it's really hard for me to even look at stuff like this. Okay? Is this not a father? Is this not a human being? Is this somebody that should be locked up, Howard? So again, and that's the other really ironic thing. Look what he's wearing on his shirt. Earth, right? And so all these guys get to virtue signal. They get to act like they're the saviors. They get to tell you what's bad. And we're talking about Earth. We're going to get into climate change. We're going to get into carbon credit scores, into social credit scores. And Neil Young and Howard Stern, two people that have been in more private jets, okay, than you could ever imagine, at more private high-end parties than you could ever imagine, have had more cars and things than you could ever imagine. All right, all that. They're going to tell you how to live on behalf of a narrative put forth by people with even more than them. Because he's going to save the earth, right? Earth. All right? All right, this is where it gets wild. I want you to let Spotify know immediately today that I want all of my music off their platform. They can have Joe Rogan or Young, not both. Neil, Broham, you want to pull your stuff? Great. You want to put it out there that you want somebody censored that has a massive audience, an audience you can't even imagine at this point, even at the peak of your musical career, you didn't have as much influence as that man. I mean, what are you thinking? I get it. We all age. We all get a little kooky sometimes. Howard, maybe you too. But it is really time to rethink everything, because the irony of what Howard Stern has become. I mean, a guy that used to, relentlessly brutalize people mentally. You want to talk about cyberbullying and mental health and all that too at this point? That was his gimmick. I mean, the whack pack. I mean, there are so many. They used to have death and suicide pools. Okay? And by the way, I'll never call for your censorship, Howard. Doesn't mean I think that everything that you've done is amazing and funny. I think you've done a lot of that for sure. I don't think we should be doing that. Another person that's really disappointed on top of that Howard interviewed, and he's one of the greatest interviewers of all time, really gets people to open up, is Jesse Ventura. Another one that, to me, has really fallen. Again, think to yourselves, folks, is this okay? Is it okay that this man doesn't get his heart transplant because he dare not bend the knee? Okay? Is it okay that in New York State, if you watched my earlier video, okay, they just don't care. They don't care if there's been a ruling right here. Let me just repeat this, okay? That this is a law and not a permissibly enacted rule. It is null and void as a matter of law, improperly enacted, constitutionally impermissible, violative of their constitutional rights, and unenforceable. And in every case, not just for children, in every case of this mandate, the New York judge in the state Supreme Court got it right. Adjudged. All of it. All of it. None of it can be enforced. And guess what? New York State's still enforcing it. And Stern is going to love that because he lives in New York State. It's all authoritarianism. And you know what? The person gets it right here. You know, it basically says that none of this was actually passed. Okay? And it says, As stated previously, there can be no doubt that every person in the state wishes, wants, and prays that this era of COVID 1984 madness, that's what I'm calling it, that's not in there. Hopefully, that's not misinformation. I'm not cyberbullying somebody, YouTube. End soon. And they will surely do their part to see that it is accomplished. However, enacting any laws to this end is entrusted solely to the state legislator. It's not mandates, okay? It's not authoritarianism, but again, every school lockstep over in New York. Bent the knee, still doing it. Doesn't matter they lost in court. While the intentions of Commissioner Bass and Governor Holcher appear to be well aimed, I don't believe that, but the judge has to put it there, squarely at doing what they believe is right to protect the citizens of New York, they must take their case to the state legislator. Imagine that, a government for and by the people. Should the state legislator, representative and voted into office by the citizens of New York, after a publicly informed debate, decide to enact laws requiring you-know-what on faces in schools and other public places, then the commissioner would likely be well-grounded in properly promulgated and enacted rules to supplement such laws. There is no law. There never was. They never had the power to do it. They're still doing it anyway. And that's the scariest thing about this authoritarianism. So guys, the links are down below if you want to support the broadcast. Remember, you can become a premium subscriber over at the Rockfin, $9.99 a month or $99.99 a year. You get everybody's premium content that way. Not just Jason Burmis, great way to support the broadcast, but also the GoFundMe is down below, and we could really use your support there as well. These are not left and right issues, and that's why I've got some respect for Bill Maher stepping into it. I don't agree with a lot that Bill Maher has to say. I watch that show, it's hard to watch. But he knows when enough is enough, and at least he allows another voice, and he doesn't call for censorship, Howard Stern, and he doesn't throw a hissy fit, Neil Young. So let's become the great resistance to this very real Great Reset agenda. My boy Derek Bros has the Greater Reset going on and streaming all over the place starting tomorrow. Okay, I want people to check that out. And I just want to say I love you guys, and I'll see you on the flip side.